enjoy the fame while it lasts. Now, you're gonna pay. From now on, we're poison to you, Spider-Man. That's why we call ourselves Venom.
You guys have been messaging me about Tom Hardy Venom all morning, so let's freak out about this. I'll try to explain what's going on with Spider-Man Homecoming, the Avengers films, and how that all fits together. There's totally a new round of the Spider-Man giveaway. It's for the action figures. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, leave a comment on this video. So the best possible thing that could have happened, they got a great actor. They got Bane to play Venom. It is going to be hardcore. So the biggest question I know is, what is this going to have to do with the MCU Spider-Man Homecoming? Is Tom Holland going to be involved with this? So right off the bat, nobody believes that this movie is going to be in the MCU just because it's supposed to be rated R. It sounds like Sony's treating it as their version of Deadpool, just a really hardcore spin on a hardcore character so that they don't have to do it PG-13 if they don't want to. The movie, this is the crazy thing. So they just announced Tom Hardy. Obviously, we have Spider-Man Homecoming coming out in less than a couple months. But they've been so quiet about this Venom movie, and they have a release date that's currently listed on IMDb is October 5th of next year. So that is a quick turnaround. So the news release about this called it a tentpole film because it's a Spider-Man franchise film. There's not going to be any small Spider-Man films. But you know how Deadpool was a smaller movie, the budget was much smaller than a normal X-Men movie? It sounds like that's what's going to happen with the Venom movie. So it'll be smaller in scale, but it'll be just as crazy. But because there's probably not a billion characters in it, they'll be able to turn it around a little bit faster. But just do not be surprised if they don't hit that October 5th release date. Because now that Tom Hardy's attached, like, he's a big name. They might go through some script rewrites, and we don't know what the story's going to be. So look at Tom Hardy's age. He's very clearly much, much older than Tom Holland's version of Spider-Man. And everybody knows the symbiote saga. Spider-Man got the symbiote during Secret Wars, came back, it started to poison his mind. He got rid of it, it found Eddie Brock, and then the rest was history. We got to the Carnage character, obviously much more appropriate for the Venom movie than he would be in a Spider-Man MCU movie that's going to be more PG-13. So if you ever wanted to see Carnage in a Spider-Man movie, Venom is your best choice, but they haven't announced who the villain is. They've just announced that Tom Hardy's attached. The director's going to be the guy who did the Zombieland movie, but that's all they've said about it so far. We don't know about any of the other cast. What I'm expecting right now, bare minimum, because you have to include Spider-Man in some way in a Venom movie to explain how you got there. Now, you can just do a Venom movie where he's already Venom. It doesn't have to be a linear timeline. If you tried to figure out where Deadpool fits in the X-Men continuity, it'd be kind of hard. You could guess and say it's sometime before X-Men Apocalypse, but there's nothing in that movie to tell you exactly what date it is when all these events are happening, so it'll probably be the same thing with the Venom movie, where it's just very ambiguous about where it fits in the timeline. The opening title sequence will probably tell you everything you need to know about the symbiote saga, how he became Venom, or we might see a version of the origin story for Eddie Brock, where it just picks up when he's first becoming the character. So there's all kinds of ways to do the movie with Spider-Man without having to have Tom Holland be a huge part of it. But he did sound excited when people were asking me questions about it. But the problem is that he's attached to so many Marvel movies. He has both of the Avengers movies that they're still filming right now. He has the next Spider-Man Homecoming sequel, so he is booked solid for the next couple years. But the really cool thing, he's a totally cool dude. He said that he is down to be Spider-Man for like 10 plus years. So we're talking all kinds of other movies beyond what Marvel and Sony have already planned so far. The last MCU Spider-Man movie they have planned right now is the second Spider-Man Homecoming movie that's coming right after the fourth Avengers film. So this is the MCU timeline right now in like early phase 4. You have the fourth Avengers film, Spider-Man Homecoming 2, and now Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So in the way that Fox is doing a bunch of different types of X-Men movies that don't necessarily have to connect to the main ones, Sony's doing the same thing too. So that's where Venom fits in. Venom is very different from the Deadpool character, but the way the Deadpool movie fits in with the other X-Men movies is how this Venom movie is probably going to work. If Tom Holland's going to be Spider-Man for the next 10 years, and I totally hope that it works out that way, then you'll probably see him show up with Venom in some kind of spin-off way. But I think for right now, it's going to be Spider-Man adjacent, so they'll reference things. Deadpool makes a lot of jokes about the X-Men, the X-Mansion. Which Xavier, McAvoy, or Stewart? Now, Venom doesn't make jokes like that, but it's just a way for them to tie it to the larger X-Men films. So just expect the same type of treatment for Venom. They haven't said which story they're going with, but they could do Sinister Spider-Man, Birth of Venom, Maximum Carnage, although that sounds like something that they would work up to, like they would do Venom and then they would do the origin of Carnage, then they would do Venom versus Carnage. But there's a new ongoing Venom comic book. They just brought Eddie Brock back in the comics. If you know, Marvel has the big Generations event coming up, Marvel Legacy. I don't know how Venom is going to be tied to that, but they're basically bringing back all the core characters. You don't get more core Venom than Eddie Brock. Just expect them to take some of his seminal runs, mix that with the origin story, and write something original. They never do the exact comic book story, so you'll see the birth of Venom, which means there might be like a pre-credit sequence where you see Spider-Man losing it, him getting it, and then they go on to whatever the adventure of the movie's going to be. But let me know in the comments, how do you want them to fit in the Venom origin story with the Spider-Man movies if they have Tom Holland and they don't want to completely confuse people? The easiest way to address that is with a Zack Snyder pre-credit sequence. You do like a short film where you tell the story of how Spider-Man got the symbiote, got rid of the symbiote, and then it found Venom, and then you just pick up right there. Or if they really want to go in for it, they could actually have somebody in a Spider-Man mask and Tom Holland do the voice without ever having him take it off. But I feel like they're going to try and avoid putting Spider-Man in a movie where he's not played by Tom Holland, so they'd have to find a way around that. So either there's going to be a little bit of Spider-Man and it'll be a silent film at the beginning so they won't have to address why it doesn't sound like Tom Holland, or there'll be an Anthony Hopkins style voiceover where they tell the origin and then you pick up.
Last great war ended, we withdrew from the other worlds and returned home to the realm eternal, Asgard.
But I do think it's interesting that Tom Holland said that he was interested in the Venom movie. That doesn't mean that he's gonna be in it. I think when other people were asking Tom Holland about the movie earlier, he was taken aback a little bit and was like, yeah, Venom, I would be totally happy. I haven't read that script yet. I think he's definitely going to read it now that Tom Hardy's attached to it, but that doesn't actually guarantee that he's going to be in it, because that's a discussion that you have to have with Marvel, you have to have that with Sony, and there are just so many cooks in that kitchen. It was so difficult to get MCU Spidey off the ground that I feel like they're going to try and sidestep any giant landmines and just do that Zack Snyder pre-credit sequence. So let me know, how do you want them to address the origin of the symbiote in this movie? But I feel like one thing that they have to work out is how they make Venom seem redeemable, because he's not like Deadpool. He doesn't have a good heart. He's usually been written like a pretty big asshole. Like Todd McFarlane's Venom was nuts, so they're gonna have to bring him back just a little bit. I think they'll give Tom Hardy some of the liberty to find the character on his own. Like, it'll be a version of Venom. It won't be exactly like the comics, but it'll be fantastic just because Tom Hardy is so good. As long as he doesn't do a version of that Bane voice, I think we'll be fine.
Who are you?
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is our plan.
They haven't said too much about what's going on with that second Spider-Man Homecoming movie, only that they're committed to making him a big part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe through that fourth Avengers film. But right now, unless they drop some big bombs, it sounds like that fourth Avengers film will be a version of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, even though that story came before the Infinity War story, which is the title of the next Avengers film. So they're kind of mixing and matching titles and storylines. Think Thanos' quest for the next Avengers film, him assembling the gems, putting the gauntlet together, and then the fourth Avengers film is the story of what he does once he assembles the gauntlet. So there are going to be some liberal changes for Spider-Man's story because he's a relatively background player, and even though you see funny panels like this, Spider-Man himself didn't interact with Thanos too much when he wasn't with the other Avengers. Like, there's not a big Spider-Man story to be told in there. So the MCU version of this is going to be a little bit different based on the cast and the characters that they have, because obviously, like, Galactus was a big part of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline. He is nowhere to be seen in the MCU right now. So if you want to get ready for the Venom movie and you haven't read any comics before, I'd recommend you start with his origin, like the original Venom story, and then you can just start with the new run, the story where Eddie Brock came back, because there's been a bunch of different versions of the character. The one that was with Guardians of the Galaxy was Flash Thompson, who's actually this character in Spider-Man Homecoming. There is no way that he is ever going to get a version of the symbiote in the MCU. It just does not look like it's going to happen. So let me know, what do you guys think about all this? I know everybody wants to see Venom in the MCU, but I'm not expecting that to happen. But that doesn't mean that it won't connect in a Deadpool X-Men type way. But congratulations to the latest giveaway winner, Jaws7. Please private message me on the back end of my channel so I can get your contact details. What's going to happen next is a whole bunch more footage drop for the finales that are coming next week, so I'll try and post those trailers as quick as possible. While you wait for that, you can click here for my Injustice 2 review video, and you can click here for brand new Spider-Man Homecoming. Thank you so much for watching. Until Type 5, I'll see you guys tonight.